In this lesson, we learn how to name ionic compounds when the cation is transition metal. We have already seen in the previous videos that if the metal is from main group elements, for example, sodium, we know that it's always +1 because it is present in the first group. Or calcium, it is always 2 plus because it is present in the um, second group. So the main group metals, they have fixed charge. So group 1 elements, all they have +1 always, and group 2 elements, they always have 2 plus. In the group 3 elements, aluminum is always 3 plus. So they have fixed charge, so we don't need to worry about that. Oh, sodium can be +1 or +2. But if, let's say, I have copper may be +1 or copper may be 2 plus. So this is where the naming ionic compounds with transition metal is different. For example, if the name says, let's say, copper chloride. Now I need to know that this copper is +1 or +2. All right. So because that would make the formula different. So copper could be CuCl or CuCl2. All right. In the first one, copper is +1, and in the second one, copper is 2 plus. So that's why naming ionic compounds with transition metal is slightly different. And in this lesson, we'll be learning how to name that. So let's see that. So like I mentioned before, the main group elements are here, and all these are with the fixed, I'll change the color. All the metals here, they have fixed charge. So you don't need to worry about that. But the metals which are here, they are transition metals, and normally they have multiple oxidation state or multiple charge. For example, copper here could be copper plus or copper 2 plus. Similarly, you might see iron. Iron could be Fe 2 plus or Fe 3 plus. All right. But remember that zinc is always 2 plus, that is fixed, and Ag is always +1. So we consider these two elements of the transition metals as with the fixed charge. So let's see some examples. If you have not watched the naming ionic compounds, binary ionic compounds, and naming complex ionic compounds, please watch those first, because I'm not going into the basic details. I'll only go into how it makes difference, all right, with the transition metal. So please watch those before you watch this. So let's see if there's a compound with the way the cation is transition metal. First of all, you need to write in the bracket which oxidation state or which charge are you using. Let's say if I write copper, then I need to write in the bracket which copper, +1 or +2. All right. So now I may write 1. Let's say it is copper 1. So copper 1 chloride mean this 1 mean that this copper is +1. All right. If I write copper 2 chloride, all right. So this 2 in the bracket tells me that this copper here is 2 plus. Now, if you don't know this Roman counting, remember that this mean +1, the metal is +1, and this would mean the metal for which this Roman number is being used is 2 +2, and this mean the metal is +3, and this mean metal is +4. So normally we don't go beyond that. All right. So in the first one, copper was, so for the first one, I'll write name like this: copper is +1 and chloride is -1. We have seen in the previous videos that if the cation and anion charge is same, you just put them together, it becomes CuCl. All right. On the other hand, if I have to write the name for the second one, this one, I'll write Cu2 plus. And how do I know that it's 2 plus? Because in the name, it says me 2 here. and chlorine is minus. So we crisscross, this 2 goes there, and this one comes here. So the formula would be Cu and Cl2. All right. So this is the basic concept. Let's have some more practice questions. All right. In the first example, iron 2 hydroxide, like I mentioned before, in the bracket 2 means that 2 means that the iron here Fe is 2 plus. All right. So Fe is 2 plus. And hydroxide, we already know from our previous knowledge that it's minus 1. So now this 2 goes there. All right. Whenever the anion is multiatomic, we need to have a bracket if we want to write 2, 3, or 4. And this OH minus 1, so minus comes here. So Fe is 1, we don't write 1, but OH is 2. So first we need a bracket OH, and then we need to write 2 outside. All right, so this is iron 2 hydroxide. Now let's see iron 3 sulfates. Again, this 3 tells me that this iron is Fe3 plus. And sulfate, we know from our previous knowledge that SO4 is 2 minus. Now this 2 goes there because F is monoatomic cation, so we don't need a bracket. And this 3 goes there because sulfate is multiatomic anion, so we need a bracket. So Fe is simply Fe3, and then in the bracket sulfate, and this 3 makes it iron 3 sulfates. So let's do a few more examples with where the formula is given to you and you need to write the name for those. In these examples, the formula is given to you. Now you need to write the name. So remember that whenever the transition metal is given to you, other than silver, which is Ag, and zinc, which is Zn, when you write the name from the formula, you need to write after the name of the metal, you need to write in the bracket which charge is there. All right. So how do we know that? So you need to go backwards. So copper sulfate. From the formula, we know that sulfate is 2 minus. All right. From the formula list, we know that. So formula, the sulfate is 2 minus. If both are 1, like copper is, there is only one metal present, sulfate, whole group is 1, means that copper was 2 plus. All right. So we need to work backward. Now we know that in this formula, the one copper is used with the 2 plus, not 1 plus. That's why they cancel each other and they're just 1 copper and 1 sulfate. Now we write the name like this. First you write the name copper. All right, we know it is 2 plus, so in the bracket, Roman 2, copper 2. Now write sulfate. So this is the name from the Ionic formula. Now in this one again, we can open it. So chlorine is minus 1. We know that from the periodic table. We're not sure F is plus 2 or plus 3. But as we know that there are 2 chlorides present, all right, or you can say that reverse the crisscross method. This 2 goes back there. So this was Fe2 plus, all right. And now you know that if you take this there and this there, formula becomes again FeCl2. So you can reverse the crisscross method. It also makes sense. So now Fe is 2 plus. So we write iron, bracket, we write iron 2. All right. So iron 2 and chloride. Like I told you, zinc is considered fixed charge. So we simply write zinc. All right. Oh, sorry, the formula was wrong. Zinc is, because zinc is always 2 plus, which means OH, you need 2 of those. All right. Because zinc was 2 plus and OH is minus 1. So this 2 goes there and this one comes here, it becomes zinc OH2. So name would be zinc And in this case, you don't need a bracket. Zinc hydroxide. Whenever there is a an ionic compound with the metal with fixed charge, you don't need a bracket after the metal name. But in the transition metal, most of the metal would need this, all right, but except zinc and Ag. I hope you like this lesson as well, and thank you for watching. So.